Hi, everyone. This tour is not about religion. So, this tour is not about comparing which religion is better or worse. This tour is not about politics and geopolitics. However, I'm very well aware, being a Russian Israeli, that everything about the Holy Land is political and geopolitical. But let's stick to something way more interesting and intriguing, at least to me. That's clearly history and archaeology. That's it. So the chat is off for now since I don't see messages anyway as I share the screen. Okay. I always start my tours of Jerusalem with this map of the old city. Um, the four quarters, Muslim, Armenian, Jewish, and Christian. This is something that we know very well from a number of tours. We have already started quite thoroughly the Christian quarter. We have done a lot of live streams and the pre-recorded tours of the Jewish quarter, Armenian and Muslim quarter. We have done some tours, but definitely there's more to come. And the Temple Mount being kind of a separate compound, which is under control of WAQF, the Jordan-based organization in charge of Muslim sites in the Holy Land, and but it's policed by the State of Israel, and it's a very sensitive issue. It's not an easy place to access if you're not a Muslim, but it's not as horrible and complicated as it may seem. So that's why, to make it easier for you to understand and well, to comprehend how things are in such a complex place on earth as Jerusalem, I would like to start outside of the Temple Mount. But you kind of have an idea. So the Golden Gate and the Lion's Gate, since I don't have a pointer, I'm going to be just trying to be as descriptive and wordy as possible. So this is the eastern side, right? And the Golden Gate is the Eastern Gate, another name for it. And we're going to start from the opposite side, from the western side. And this map has the name called Wailing Wall. I am not happy with the Wailing Wall name, which I will talk about as we begin. But so this Wailing Wall has another name, Western Wall. So we're going to start from the western side, and the entrance for us, well, for me, I mean, being I'm not Jewish, I'm not Muslim, and also for all non-Muslims is only from the Western Wall, from the west of the Temple Mount. So this is it. And the Western Wall and the entrance to the Temple Mount is from the Jewish quarter anyway. And the quickest way is either entrance through the Dung Gate, as you can see from the south, or from the Zion Gate. However, Jaffa Gate, being Western, is also very convenient. I would say these are the easiest ways to access the temple, to access the old city and thus the Temple Mount. Okay, let's begin. So this is the overview. This is the overview of this very small Western Wall plaza. And I would like to pause here. So from here, you can see the gilded dome. It's actually golden. This is the Dome of the Rock. And there is already the Temple Mount. So behind this wall, there is the Temple Mount. And you see also a wooden structure that looks like, well, kind of a passageway. This is actually the passageway. And this is exactly this, the only entrance to non-Muslims to the Temple Mount. The Western Wall or the Wailing Wall, this is the, right now, the kind of the holiest place for Jews, but it's just the wall, in fact. Well, when the temple was still there, the temples were still there, the temples were holy. The wall was just the wall, but because there are no temples now, and this is the closest we can get to where the temples used to be. And well, the Western Wall Plaza is called the Wailing. Well, the Western Wall is called the Wailing Wall, is because in the 19th century, a lot of Christian pilgrims, in the mid 19th century, the Ottoman Empire, who had the Holy Land under their control, when they allowed pilgrimage, a lot of Christian pilgrims and also Jewish pilgrims started coming to the Holy Land, and this is when Christians started. They saw a lot of Jews crying, wailing next to the wall, and that's why this name came about. But this name, perceived by Jews, and also I think everyone who is sensitive about the language, is perceived a bit derogatory because it's, well, wailing. It's maybe the mourning wall in a way, yes, because Jews basically mourn the loss of the temples, right? So I'm just explaining you for me as a linguist, this is important, the way how we word things. So to me, that's important. So I prefer to say Western Wall, but yes, you can still come across the Wailing Wall as pretty much, I would say, widespread term for it. Now, what we're looking at is the early 1900s photograph of the Western side of the Temple Mount, the western wall of the Temple Mount, and you can see that the dome is not golden because it would be gilded only in mid 20th century, and you can see that there was no really a plaza because that was the Moroccan Quarter, which is no longer there, and the Moroccan Quarter is kind of the youngest in a way because it was established only in the 12th century during the second Muslim period. Well, the 13th century, better say. And this photograph is interesting because this is it shows you that in fact, when the first pilgrims in 19th century, mid 19th century, and up until, well, actually, let's say the beginning of the First World War, they would only have this small strip of land accessible to the Western Wall. And you can see on the one hand, to the right hand, to the right, you see Jewish women. This is a women's section because the Western Wall Plaza is considered like a big synagogue, and even there would be kind of a division between the women's and men's section, just like in the synagogue. There should be the mechitza, the kind of a shir, the divider between the women's and the men's section. So that's why you see here women wailing, crying, and to the left-hand side, these are actually the walls of the Mughrabi or Moroccan Quarter, which was a Muslim quarter. Well, kind of a section, the extension of the Muslim Quarter, but a very young one. Things, started to change largely for the Western Wall, how it looked after, the declaration of the independence of the State of Israel, which happened in 1948. And this is David Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister of the State of Israel. This is the declaration, the photos of the declaration. And the next day, the independence or 1948 war started. I also know that this wording, the way I call this war is also very geopolitical, but at this point, I really don't care. We're talking about the sequence of events that led to the way the Western Wall and everything on the Temple Mount actually looks like. So it is what it is. So after, let's say in that independence war, 1948 war, which lasted for over a year, State of Israel won, but lost Jerusalem completely, including the Jewish quarter, the entire old city, including the Temple Mount. Everything was under Jordanian rule, Jordanian occupation. Jordan was one of the 5 countries that allied against Israel, 5 Arab states. And what you see is a little bit of the footage of what was happening in the Jewish quarter, because it was largely in ruins. The Mughrabi quarter was in a bad condition. It was just probably one of the most deteriorated areas. And this Jordanian occupation, or Jordanian control, if you want me to use a more neutral terms, which I don't have problems with, it was there up until 1967. So the 6-Day War, which again was started by the alliance of the Arab states. And in that 6 Day War, eventually the Israeli Defense Forces, the Israeli army, managed to um, oust Jordan and got the Jewish quarter under their control. But when they came, so they saw ruins, and in a way, as you know, those ruins, well, it's a horrible way to put it, but for an archaeologist, those destructions were a blessing in disguise because they were able to dig at least something in the old city, because the old city has always been inhabited, heavily populated, and it's only 1 square kilometer in total, the old city, and there are 40,000 plus people living. It's just mind-boggling, but it is what it is, and it's like a filo pastry. Imagine for all these years. So Jerusalem is somewhat 3,000 years old, give or take. Just wrap your mind around it. So, and the thing is, because people live here, you can't really dig there. So, and after that, once the Jewish quarter was liberated, freed, whatever word you put, again, it was decided to completely dismantle, tear down the Moroccan quarter, which had been in a very poor condition anyway, because it was very close to the Jewish quarter and everything. So it was in a really bad state. And this is how the Western Wall Plaza actually came to be. And yes, this is now the open air synagogue. But we are here first and foremost to talk about the Temple Mount. But I thought it would be important kind of to fill you in about what you see around it. And again, let me draw your attention to this interesting, kind of the suspended passageway. These are actually the Maghrabi gates or Moroccan gates. And you can access these gates from the territory of the Western Wall Plaza over there. So you need to go through the checkpoint anyway. And this would be the only way for you to enter the Temple Mount if you are not Muslim. Before we go to the Temple Mount, I would like to say that you may have come across recently videos on YouTube or some articles that kind of, I would say, doubt the existence of the Jewish temples, that doubt also and by denying the fact that there had been the Jewish temples, they also denied the fact of Jesus making doing the pilgrimage to Jerusalem, because why would he be doing that since there were no temples, right? So, but it's important to understand that these arguments that they're provided, they don't hold the water. And I'm saying that because there is solid archaeology. And these tours are going to be about archaeology only. So if you're looking for some archaeology, well, there is something you can see on the Temple Mount, but your understanding is not going to be complete without the tour of the Western Wall tunnels. And I have done those tours for you. We have done those tours together with you already. And from here, okay, I need to go a little bit backwards. So since I don't have a pointer, I have to go back. I'm so sorry. So what you see here, and also if I go a little bit backwards, you will see an entrance to this Western Wall tunnels. That's exactly where I'm passing them by now. And you cannot excavate on the Temple Mount. So WACF is not permitting any excavations whatsoever. So the only way any archaeological excavations can be carried out is around the Temple Mount. So, and if you go there to the Western Wall tunnels, you will see a lot of evidence to the existence of the temples, and especially from the times of Herod the Great. Well, I have done, I believe, I don't know, 7 tours of the Western Wall tunnels with all the excavations that are being carried out. So definitely, this is the go-to place for sure if you want to see more solid proof, and it's as solid as rock. There are lots of stones of the size of several buses, which testify to the existence of an immense size construction from the times of Herod. Before we enter the Temple Mount, I just would like to say that I will be, as the tour goes, and I know we're limited in time, so it's impossible for me to actually share with you everything all at once. And since it's my tour, I manage it the way it is convenient to me, and I would like to stick to the narrative, to chronology, and I would like to talk about what we see. So that's why I may not cover some topics that you might be expecting me to cover on this video, but there are also more videos to come, and I hopefully will be able to mention what you are expecting me to mention, maybe. And also we're going to have Q&A, and this is when you can ask me questions, and I'll be more than happy to dwell on that. So once you pass the checkpoint, and once you are explained that you are not allowed, as a non-Muslim, you are not allowed to have a Bible with you or to have a Torah with you. You're not allowed to wear any attributes of your religion, crosses, or, well, and also women have to be, well, wearing modest clothing, but it's okay if you wear a shirt or a skirt, or a short skirt, or a short sleeve t-shirt. This is okay because it's Israel and it's hot. This is fine. You will be given, special covers. They are not glamorous. They are not too awesome, I would say, but well, if it grants you access to the Temple Mount, this is okay. You can live with that. And the entrance to the Temple Mount is free of charge, but it's limited in time. When I was there, it was 7 in the morning, and 7 in the morning up until, times differ, so it's always best to check. But when I was there in September 2025, this is when this video, biggest part of this video was recorded. It was from 7 to 12:30, and not on all days of the week. This is also important to remember. So other than that, you're free to go. On some days, also access in the afternoon for non-Muslims is possible. Other than that, it's only entry for Muslims. That's it. That's how it goes. So now we are actually on this in this passage, because there's a lot of police. I don't want, and it's not allowed to film the police. So that's why I will be filming the floor, so to speak. And from here also you can see the doors under the banners. This is the entrance to the Western Wall tunnels. There's like 4 floors of archaeology underneath us, exactly underneath Western Wall Plaza, and it's just absolutely mind-boggling. Look up for it. Find more videos. There are tons of videos on YouTube, and there are also my tours, which are available. The recordings are available from my sponsors, and I try to also build it chronologically, and that's it. So it's about just 2 minutes, and you are already on the Temple Mount. Welcome. So it was quite easy, and it was not crowded because it was 7 in the morning, and also because this was still wartime at that time. And when I was there, I knew that at any moment a siren could go off, and actually they did, but not on this tour. But you may remember once I did a live stream and I was wrapping up by the Western Wall, and this is exactly when the siren went off. Yeah, I knew that could happen, and yeah, that happened. So I promised to start from the beginning. So where are we? So the Temple Mount is originally a Mount Moriah, and the temples were, well, in the Mount Moriah. That was the story of the binding of Isaac, which I will be referring in I would say more details when we talk about the Dome of the Rock. But so on Mount Moriah, where was a stone, a big rock, so that was the the center of everything, and that there was a rock right where the binding of Isaac was to happen. And on top of that rock, further on, Solomon would build the first temple, which is around 980 BCE, so like 3,000 years ago. So, and the temple was built, it was built a platform, and there was built a temple on top of Mount Moriah, on top of this stone, the foundation stone, the big one. And then this Solomon's temple stood up until 586 BCE, when it was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar, by Babylonians, right? And then 50 years later, after the Jews were taken to Babylon to exile, Jews started coming back, and the new temple would be built on the same place by Zerubbabel. It was a much smaller, much more modest temple, heavily criticized for its, I would say, kind of the ugliness, well, compared to, the Temple of Solomon. And the second temple stood intact up until the times of Herod the Great. And we are talking here the first century BCE. And Herod largely extended the Temple Mount and built and rebuilt the temple and made it gazillion times more beautiful, opulent, ornate, and well, a lot bigger. I have done a bunch of tours around the Temple Mount, be it Western Wall, be it the Southern Wall. We have walked all around the old city. We talked about the gates. We talked about what's around the gates. And now, well, I have done the tours of the Christian quarter. So there's going to be tours of the Muslim quarter, tours of the Armenian quarter. But, well, what you see here is what Herod did. He significantly extended the original Temple Mount platform, which is colored in yellow. So this, a lot of visual aids, I mostly use like three sources, which are the most reliable ones. This one was made by Lynn Riffmeyer, a highly respected archaeologist and historian. Also, I use the visual aids that are provided on the Holy Land website, and also the Median Institute. Well, you will see all that. So it's all in open access. So it's there. You don't have to pay for it. You can look it up by yourself. And there will be a lot more visual aids, because without that, it's just impossible to comprehend all that. So by the way, you see that in the very center, there is a word called Sakra. So Sakra is actually this foundation stone, the very beginning of it. So this Sakra, that's the stone. And this is exactly on top of it, the temple stood, and also the Dome of the Rock is believed to be standing exactly above the Sakra. We'll speak about the Sakra in a lot more details, but not now. I'm just giving it kind of an introduction. And that's how the Second Temple looked, and the Second Temple period, well, the Temple Mount. That's what it was. Quite different from everything that we have seen before that. And we have done a bunch of tours of archaeology that is now available for us. First and foremost, because of their destructions and because of the Six-Day War, when it was finally possible to excavate in that section that belongs to the Jewish quarter. And what we're looking at is exactly the corner of the western and southern walls. So that was possible to excavate, and there is so much archaeology there. I have done, I believe, 50 tours. I think I'm not even exaggerating, of that area. Well, I'm just talking about virtual tours and also in-person one. There is quite a good model of the Second Temple period in the Museum of Israel in Jerusalem. This model is already a bit outdated because of the constant excavations that are going on around the Temple Mount, and they also in the other areas of the city. So there is a lot There's a lot, and there's something new always coming up, like every year. And but in a lot, I would say, in a nutshell, that model it still works. So, thank you so much, Holy Land site, for making it a lot easier for us to understand what is actually going on here. So basically, we can say that the Temple Mount has undergone a chain of extensions and transformations. And well, on the other diagram, it was on the yellow end of the yellow color. Here, the Solomon platform, the original size of it, is there outlined with the orange color. The Hasmonean expansion, this is the period we're talking about, the 2nd century BCE. There was a little expansion to the left, right to the south. And this is the Hasmonean expansion. Herodian expansion, 1st century Common Era. This is the green thing. And, well, the Antonia fortress built also by Herod the Great is to the north. Over there, you can see that. We spoke a lot about Antonia fortress in connection with Jesus because according to the tradition, which is followed by most Christians, not exclusively, but still it's the prevailing tradition. It may at some point lose ground, but at the moment it's still there. So it is believed that this is exactly where the Pontius Pilate resided, and this is where the trial of Jesus took place, and from there the Dolorosa kind of starts. Yeah, and we had done Dolorosa tours just in, well, a couple of weeks ago. Okay, you kind of have an idea what's going on here. And let's move on. But as I said, that's what it looks, well, also from the air. And here you can see where we are. I'm using this drone footage. Well, I don't have a drone, so, but obviously Holy Land side does. From here, you can see the Mugrabi Gate passageway, right? This corridor, wooden corridor, and you can see where we enter. So we are sort of in the corner of that green territory. I'm not sure even what to say. Well, kind of a lawn maybe, and we are now standing by the trees and looking around. So the Temple Mount is huge. Yes, it occupies about 1/6 of the entire old city, so it is huge. But originally it was way smaller. The question is, if there are no archaeological excavations allowed, how do we know what used to be there? What do we rely on? What's in it to talk about if you cannot excavate? And yes, it belongs to Muslims, and yes, it's controlled by Waqf. So what do Christians and Jews have to do there? It's a Muslim site, right? Not exactly. I mean, it is a Muslim site, but obviously there is a lot in connection with the Christian and the Jewish narrative, for sure. And there's tons of archaeology still available, and the information keeps coming in. What you see here, it kind of gives you an idea where you can find what, and where is some archaeology available. There's nowhere we're going to cover it, even within 2 episodes. I am sorry, but this is a luxury what we have. Normally, there's never enough time to talk about all these things, and unless it's a very detailed study tour, which I have taken, I don't know, 20, just about the Temple Mount. Well, maybe 15, and it's also I'm totally excluding the books that I have invested hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Well, it's a luxury that we have this opportunity not to run around, but actually have a good conversation. Well, kind of a lecture and then a conversation afterwards about these things. Just kind of to have an idea like how much there actually is and how much you can actually see. Okay, so From a different angle, you see where the entrance is. You see how crowded it can get, and it wasn't like this for quite a long time. But hopefully, it will change. Well, actually, no, it was for the Jewish holidays, be it war, peace times. It still gets crowded for the Jewish holidays for sure. And you can see here the area outlined with yellow. Actually, this territory, which is way smaller than the Temple Mount is actually now, this is kind of the territory that where the platform for Solomon's Temple used to be. Just the platform for the Solomon Temple. Just that. It's way smaller, and you see it from here now. Well, it's way smaller because Herod basically made it twice as big. What are we looking at here are a bunch of columns of the capitales look different. And the thing is that stone is a non-organic material and you cannot use carbon-14 dating method, which means it's not so easy to date the stones. And knowing that the secondary use is what happened here all the time. So construction materials would be reused. It makes things super complicated. So we don't rely normally on stones in dating unless, there are other kinds of, ways of indication. But these are the columns. These are all the details that had been found on the Temple Mount, which means there had been so much built over the course of these 3,000 years. Yeah. We'll talk about these years for sure in more details, but okay, where are we now? So on the surface, right, since there's no archaeology, what's in there? So you just walk, you see the place, and you go. But in fact, even like this, there is tons of archaeology, so much information that you just need to always look around, and everywhere you go, everywhere you step, there is some history. Like, for example, over here, you see this plot of land, and that's a cat. 2 cats. Oh, wow, I didn't even notice those cats. Oh, now I see them. Cool. So whenever there is a cat on the tour, it means that my job is done and we can go home. Bye, everyone. Joking, of course. So it is believed that exactly this area and these stones, which are way darker than the flooring, right? So the flooring is way younger than the darker stones. And as we have been told multiple times, as you can also find it in the literature, this is actually believed to have been the stones that, they are left from original platform, right? So the first temple period platform, the one that is indicated in the yellow color, because obviously when the extensions were added, they did not destroy what had been built before, right? They would just add, but they would not destroy. That was not the point, right? The point was to make it bigger and not eliminating parts. So as these tours will proceed, I will be able to add more information, but it's kind of just an indication for us to look everywhere we go, and especially underneath our feet. Remember, I told you about the gigantic stones found in the Western Wall tunnels, like 3 floors down? Look at this. This is a man-made stone. And these stones are actually laying already on the bedrock. And you can see this is the photo from Wikipedia, but I have shared tons of footage with you, my videos, also other photographs. There are tons of stones like this. And yes, we cannot date the stones, but we know, I said there would be other indications. So whenever you see this gigantic regular kind rectangular stones with a clear cut frame, this is the Herodian times. And we know that Herod the Great extended the Temple Mount. So these are the Herodian time stones. This is clearly a Roman technology because Herod was a Roman client king of Judea, right? He reported straight to Rome, to the emperor. So yeah, there you go. There had been something really massive. And these are the base for the foundations of the Second Temple period wall. It's just in a nutshell. I'm being very brief. I'm being just really, really, really generalizing things. I'm just kind of leaving you a lot of points that eventually will come together, but it's going to take us time. And I'm not in a hurry. So all these details have been found on the Temple Mount. And it's just like a garden. It's like the archaeological garden in a way. And you can actually walk anywhere, but you're not allowed to enter anything. You can't go inside, be it Al-Aqsa Mosque, which we are approaching now, or the Dome of the Rock. You cannot go inside. You cannot go inside other institutions that are located there. No, but you can walk around. There's no problem with that. Um, well, the couples are not, well, you cannot kiss. Even holding hands might be criticized. You're not going to be kicked out by that, but well, just don't provoke. That's it. I'm providing here a quick outline of the Muslim period history in the Holy Land because we are at the Muslim side, so we need to know exactly when Muslims actually came to the Holy Land. And this is almost, it's 1,000 years later after the first temple was built, which is only the 7th century. We know that in the 7th century earlier, the Islam was established as a religion, right? And in 638, the first Muslim period for Jerusalem started. And so you would know, I am well aware that we have already skipped the Q&A, but I want to show you as much as possible. And then I'll stay longer for the Q&A. Hopefully this will make it up to you. Yeah. And well, from then on, I'm also omitting some smaller details. I just want you to have a kind of understanding the chronology of the first Muslim period. And as you can see, it lasted up until the very end of the 11th century, because in 1099, the first crusade period, the first crusaders would come to the Holy Land. And as you know, actually during the Fatimid Caliphate period, in the very beginning of year 1000, the Holy Sepulchre Church was destroyed intentionally, and this exactly would give rise to the crusade. But it will take them it will take Rome, it will take the Vatican a bit longer. Well, but anyway, the crusaders would reach the Holy Land eventually. So you kind of have an idea of different periods. So I would sometimes refer to the Umayyad Caliphate, sometimes to Abbasids. Well, but you kind of have an idea. I would be adding dates, so you don't have to keep that in mind, but you just have to see, for example, that. So during the Umayyad dynasty period, the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque were actually built. And since these are very important sites, these are the highlights of the Temple Mount and the third holiest places for Muslims in the world, it kind of never hurts. Well, it doesn't hurt to know who built them and when they were built. So we're talking here turn of the 8th century. Let's put it like that. It's not so easy to give you a clear-cut year, but we kind of have an idea. And this is the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So the golden dome construction is not Al-Aqsa Mosque, it's the Dome of the Rock, which is also a mosque, but that's not the point. So this is the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and yes, entrance is strictly prohibited. It is believed that the Al-Aqsa Mosque was built either by the Umayyad Caliph Abd al-Malik or his successor, Al-Walid I. Okay, so again, as I said, this is the turn of the 8th century. Well, just a couple of decades, they don't really matter this much, but we kind of understand where we are on the timeline. Um, Obviously, the mosques and the Dome of the Rock didn't look like that throughout this 1,500, well, 1,500. Yeah, that's just that's not exactly the case. There have been earthquakes, there have been destructions, there have been also restorations, and exactly because of that, we have a lot more information that there is in the surface, on the surface. So this is a 1915 photograph taken, and yeah, there's so much to see, there's so much to talk about, and we are definitely not going to be able to talk about everything. We're not going to be able to talk about the Dome of the Rock, so I suggest focusing on Al-Aqsa Mosque first. And again, let's not rush, because there's no point in rushing. Um, Again, so the because of the destruction, because of the earthquakes, the facade looks different than it used to look, and many other things. Plus, there will be extensions for sure, for sure. And you see the gilded dome of the bed of the Dome of the Rock. And in 1915 photo, it's clearly not gilded. This is the photo taken in, well, before the end of the Ottoman period, and you can see that the mosque looks different, right? Because of the destructions caused by natural reasons. We are going to talk about them very soon. As a non-Muslim, I am not allowed to enter Al-Aqsa Mosque, but there are a lot of photographs you can find online. And actually, up until year 2000, Jews could enter the Al-Aqsa Mosque, but not anymore. But the doors are open and you can kind of peek a little bit and spy a little bit over there. But again, that's not a problem. You can go online and find tons of photographs, uh, tons of them, honestly. So, okay, it's a pity we cannot get inside. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, and I really wish I could go inside. I don't have any problem with it being a Muslim site. Well, it is what it is. There are lots of illustrations as well. So it's the third holiest place for Muslims of all the world, especially because of the Dome of the Rock. It is connected with tradition. We're going to talk about it in more details when we actually get to the Dome of the Rock in the next episode. Um, there are a lot of photographs taken in the Ottoman period, and at that point, a lot of researchers. So with the influx of pilgrims in the second half of the 19th century, which I have spoken so much about, obviously, with all this surge of interest to the Holy Land, gave rise to a lot of research facilities, and this is when Palestine Exploration Fund was established. And here is a disclaimer. Since this is being recorded and I am going to be sharing these recordings on my YouTube channel, it's highly likely that someone new might come across this video. So I'm going to briefly comment on the word Palestine because I have to. It's my mission. So Palestine referred to the region. It was all Palestine region. So is the territory of modern state of Israel, the Jordan, and other territories around it, the West Bank, all of it was called Palestine. And in fact, these words came about for the first time thanks to Emperor Hadrian in the 2nd century Common Era. Hadrian got so angry with the Jews that revolted against the Romans that he destroyed the entire Jerusalem, and he also meant to wipe the name of Jerusalem from from history. So what he did, he renamed the city that he rebuilt upon the ashes of Jerusalem. He rebuilt a pagan city and named it Aelia Capitolina, and the region which used to be called Judea was renamed into Syria, Palestina, and Palestina referred to other peoples that came together with the Israelites in the approximately 14th to 12th century BCE. This is the period when the Israelites or Jews came back to the Holy Land from the exile, so from Egypt. And at that time, other peoples came, which we call the Philistines, because the word that because they were called the Plishtim, the guests, the comers, the newcomers. So that's basically it. So and ever since then, this term would be in use. But when the Ottomans, in 1517, when the Ottomans conquered the, well, let's say these territories of the Levant region, the Ottoman Empire was gigantic. So in order to understand which region of the Ottoman Empire they were referring to, they said, well, they would say Palestine, Palestine. That's it. So it's important to understand what you're talking about. There was never a state called Palestine until the 20th century and Oslo Accords. Okay, so that's what we are talking here. So just history, nothing personal. Let's move on. Sorry for that. It was important. I know you must have heard it gazillions of times, my seasoned viewers, but nevertheless, the lovely photograph. So the minbar, the stairs where the imam is well, they're reciting the poems, reciting the Quran. Also next to it is the the Qibla, so the wall that is actually, this entire wall is the sacred one. So it is always directed to Mecca, right? The holiest place for Muslims. And this is kind of the most sacred part of a mosque, which you can see similarities with the way synagogues are arranged, but obviously for the synagogue, the holy place is Jerusalem. And in Jerusalem, it would be the place where the temple is. So to that side, the synagogues in Jerusalem would have the Ark of the Covenant, well, the Holy of the Holies, and that would be the side also to which Jews would be praying. And the same goes for Muslims. Muslims would pray to the side facing Mecca. That's a common thing. That's what it looks nowadays. And yes, this is me, just to prove that I have been there. I lost count of how many times I've been there, nevertheless. And don't try to fool them. They are going to detect non-Muslim by the door easily. They just have this, I don't know, but they just know, and they can easily check whether you are Muslim or not. So don't fool them. Now, what are we looking at? So in the end of the 1920s, there was a massive earthquake. And the wall of the Al-Aqsa Mosque collapsed. But it wasn't just the wall, it also the columns, the floors, everything was shook up, like really big time. And it was decided to fortify, to somehow support and strengthen the architecture, the columns, the walls, everything. Well, for it to survive after another earthquake, because this is quite a seismically active area anyway. So, for these repair works, they were not called excavations, but they allowed the presence of several. Well, first of all, the Palestine Exploration Fund, and well, several specialists. I'm going to be referring to one especially important, and they were taking tons of photographs. Well, just during the times of these repair works, and I would be referring to, and it's a well-known fact. You can look it up easily. Robert William Hamilton. British archaeologist and academic. So he did a lot of research within this, Palestine Exploration Fund and everything. And obviously, Palestine Exploration Fund is a thing of the second half of the 19th century, but it's kind of all the excavations and everything. They're still, it's still applicable for the excavation. So, and it was not actually excavation. He was just overseeing what was there to see during these repair works. So you can see also his career and how I would say important he was in his research and how much authority this scholar had. So Hamilton basically just took photos and walked around, and the information he obtained and the photographs he took, they eventually he made it into more than 300 pages report. And we are going just to start talking about the findings, and next time we will continue. So I don't want to confuse you any longer, and because I don't want to confuse you anymore. I just want to go little by little. Again, this information is in open sources. So there obviously was a lot of digging done just to secure the columns at the base. There had to be done some digging. Nobody had done digging there for a long time before that, and nobody had seen it. So it's an amazing thing that Hamilton was actually allowed there. And all these inscriptions, this was also provided by Hamilton himself. So Hamilton discovered lots of mosaics, lots of columns, lots of underground passages as well, and a lot more. I mean, all these inscriptions were made by him. And this is all published in open access. You can find it online. You can find it in different libraries. This information is available. You don't need to be an archaeologist or historian or a millionaire to get access on this. Just look at this. Just look at the level. Look at the layers. Again, that's what I was saying too. It's just the phyllo pastry. Jerusalem and Temple Mount as a phyllo pastry. Look at the different size of the stones. It also matters the shape of the stone. All that matters. It also refers to many different periods that had been there before. We're going to talking about just I don't want to get too nerdy, so we're going to be talking about the fundamental things here. So this is the corner of the western wall to the left and the southern wall. We have done tours there. It's called the Davidson Center, and there are a bunch of tours that I have done. My supporters have access to it, and you can just look it up. Well, there's so much information there. But what we need to talk about, since that area has been and is still being excavated, to the southern wall that we're looking at. As you can see, the southern wall is exactly behind the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So the Institute is the other resource that I'm using. So there's a lot of archaeology there, and something I would like to refer to. So in the southern wall, you can also look it up. There were found the group of gates. There was found a double gate, and the triple gate. These gates, and we're talking about the Second Temple period. So the Second Temple period, this is the Herodian Temple period. So starting from the first century BCE, basically, and up until the Second Temple of Herodian Second Temple was destroyed in year 70 AD. So what you need to see here, we're looking at the corner of the southern wall and the eastern wall. That's the corner, and you can find their double gate and triple gate inscriptions, right? So, I mean, you see the captions there. You see Al-Aqsa Mosque, right? You see the difference in the ground level. So, just to understand where we are, we have done tours there. I'm not going to repeat myself, and you're going to just die from boredom. And the double gate can be found exactly at that corner. So this is unanimously recognized as the double gate. which had been used as the uh, entrance to the both gates, it's kind of called Holda Gate complex. They were used for entrance and the exit for Jews during the pilgrimage to the Temple Mount. We're talking the three main pilgrimages, and well, just in general, and the double gate is there. The double gate. I'm talking about the double gate. This is the triple gate. You see, it is sealed. It was sealed in the Muslim period. Actually, it had been sealed multiple times. So Hamilton discovered a passage, subterranean passage. These photos are from the Library of Congress. So, well, they belong to the Library of Congress. Subterranean underground passage leading north from the double gate, right? It's the south, to the Temple Mount. You see where I'm coming from, right? And this is clearly the Second Temple period, 1st century BCE, and it totally matches the Roman architecture. There were found designs, columns, supporting archways, all that underground. That's absolutely mesmerizing. Pure archaeology, nothing else is needed. So, and well, this, I mean, it's there. So even now, after this 1 hour tour, we already have so much archaeology that just completely eliminates the idea of, well, that you can now come across of actually absolute absence of the temples. This is clearly these arguments don't really hold the water at all. Also, I would like to remind you that all my tours are free to join, unless those are B2B tours or special incentives that I'm also open to. But my tours are all tip supported, and I would appreciate your support. You can either send a PayPal donation, or you could buy me a coffee or coffees, depending on, what kind of generous mode you are in. And also, I have been referring to a bunch of other tours because I have shown you a bunch of places of interest, incredible archaeology, and all these tours can be accessed, and there are about actually altogether 900 videos. But not only Israel, it's also St. Petersburg, since I happen to be a tour guide to St. Petersburg, and also while I'm staying in Georgia, there are a lot of tours about Georgia and its capital, Tbilisi, but not exclusively. So there are a lot of tours, and these tours can be accessed via the membership option, which you can learn more about if you click the link that I have provided. Robert, the Temple Mount is not the most excavated place in the world, unfortunately. No, the old city, and Israel is the old city, and the Temple Mount, not really. It's well, we wish it was. No, the pyramids, yes, maybe, and yet it has not been completely excavated. But the Temple Mount, no. The area around it, yes. And it is now some of the biggest excavations around the Temple Mount. Yes, this is true. Around the Temple Mount, there is a gigantic area of the Ophel, as well as the city of David, which is actually where the first kings actually lived. So David and Solomon, they did not live in the old city of Jerusalem. The old city, actually the oldest part, is the city of David, which is to the south from the Temple Mount and to the south from the old city that we know as of today. And I have done also bazillions of tours about that. So this is basically it. Thank you everyone for joining me. It's been a pleasure, and I hope it's been educational but not too nerdy. And I'm hoping to see you next Sunday, 30 minutes earlier than tonight. And thank you for all the support and for all the interest in my tours. It really means the world to me. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to finally, finally be able to actually guide in Jerusalem and Israel, because there is so many places I want to show, so many things I would like to talk about. And my tours are all about archaeology and history. It's about the fundamental things, I would say, and science. Thank you so much. I will see you next weekend on a bunch of tours, be it Israel, be it St. Petersburg, be it Georgia, or all together. Thanks for everything, and bye bye.